BPOs to change again in new normal. How BPO players see new business opportunities in digital era. And for this, we'll invite Mr. Stephen Ernest, Senior Vice President, Head International Operation from StarTech. Mr. Stephen, recognized as an innovative and strategic leader with over 21 years of experience in managing high-touch consumer businesses across multiple locations, brings a wealth of expertise and business acumen to the table. He has extensive experience in steering businesses through challenging transitions in highly competitive environments and successfully implementing long-term strategic objectives. Over to you, Stephen, sir.
Thank you. That was quite a big introduction for me, in all fairness. This, in my opinion, is the most difficult session because, if you are a part of the industry, you've heard of the term graveyard shift, right? Coming to speak after lunch is graveyard shift, right? So that's the toughest session that I have, to come and speak after lunch because obviously everyone's, going to be half, down. But I'll give you a good tip. On each of your tables, you've got mentors. It works really well when you're feeling sleepy. I've used it many a times in meetings that, sometimes gets a little out of hand. So I just want to ask a couple of questions. Let's see, how much, you've been sitting and, listening to AI and a lot of AI. So let's see, does anyone know who's the father of AI? Don't look at your phones. Don't go to Google. Just tell me if you know who's the father of AI. That's the amount of information we get that sometimes we don't really know, right? No, sorry. But the father of AI is a gentleman called 𝗘𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗂. I didn't know that as well till maybe a few minutes back, right? So we're all in the same boat. I have another question for you. I'll make it a little lighter. Do you know which is the biggest lie spoken in the world? The biggest lie spoken in the world, or the biggest lie in the world? Sorry? I'm doing good. Any other guesses? AI will replace humans. One more guess. One more guess. You were talking about it. That's a good one. The biggest lie in the world is hitting the I agree and understand button every time you download a software. A lot of times we don't even read or we don't even look at it, but we do that. But I want to just spend a few minutes. I'm going to try and keep it as light as possible. We want to spend a few minutes talking about technology and the way it's going to play a role, obviously, in the world that we are living in. So we've got a couple of stats here. 72% of business leaders believe artificial intelligence is a business advantage. And we've heard a lot of it today. 61%, regardless of company size, pointed to machine learning and AI is the company's most significant data initiative for the next year. By 2025, 57% of business buyers will depend on companies to know what they need before they ask for anything. And we experience that a lot. Sometimes I'm scared to go and click on something on Amazon because all my websites will be populated. And I've got the habit of giving my phone. I mean, everybody in my family has access to my phone, right? So if I'm planning to buy something online for their birthday or something of that sort, it becomes very difficult because the minute they pick up my phone, their gifts are showing up, right? So that's what happens here. Customer satisfaction is expected to grow by 25% by the end of 23 in organizations that use AI. And this is something that came from Gartner. 38% of employees expect their job to be automated by 2023, which is the end of this year. And 13% expect AI to eliminate positions entirely in the industry. And we hear a lot of talk about AI is going to come and then what? People are obviously going to lose jobs and all sorts going to happen. That is definitely going to happen, right? But then what next? For example, at the turn of the century, candle makers felt the same way with the industrial revolution coming in. Candle makers felt, now what? Electricity is coming in, now what do we do? But then it actually helped advance growth to the extent there are so many jobs and not too many takers. So that's the place that we're heading to. So, we've got the art of possibilities and, we're talking about the different kind of interactions, obviously, and the different channels that we use. So if you, with the amount of time you would spend in the industry, we see that the customer interaction channels would be, your live chat, social media, etc., etc. It comes into the contact center, and now a lot of companies are obviously using bots, to eliminate the first part, which is, can you give me your billing date? Can you, give me my, billing amount, etc. The first bit, you've got bots that kind of take care of it. So what's happening? AI is doing one part, and then you need the human to come in. So with AI coming in, jobs are not going to reduce. Instead, jobs are going to get a lot more complex. For example, when the industry started, and the industry started 95, British Airways, etc., and then obviously 2000, the momentum picked up. When the industry started seeing momentum, in 2000, the expectation of what someone needed in the industry was plain vanilla. You pick up the phone, thank you for calling so-and-so, can I help you? Problem solved, you move forward. Today, you pick up the phone, you solve their problem, you upsell, you cross-sell. I mean, the only thing left is you taking the product and going to the house and delivering it. That's the only thing left, right? The point is, it's gotten more complex, it's gotten more advanced, and that's what we, will see as we move forward. So a couple of things that we do, with the advancement in terms of, the way we've got to move forward, one of the key areas that we seem to really, fall is with respect to training. And, I've got our training and quality head sitting here. This is one area that is a little more complicated for a couple of reasons, because we are used to, and when I talk about we, I'm talking about my generation and before. We are used to sitting in a classroom, and somebody says whatever they say, we take down notes and we move forward. But the folks that are coming in today, that method is not going to work. You've got to get creative, because they're centennials. I mean, their attention span is very short, and not for bad reason. It's just that their minds are a lot quicker, they're a lot more smarter, they're a lot more intelligent, and that's why we've got to find ways to be able to engage with them. So a couple of things we do. Obviously, we build micro content, which is small videos that they can learn at their own pace. You've got simulators. Simulators are very important, especially when it comes to complex businesses. We've got a particular account with us. The quality threshold is 99%. With a quality threshold of 99%, you can't get some, and the reason why it's 99% is every error could lead to a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, right? So you can't get people going in there and making errors. So, simulators are important. Decision trees, and I've got a case study. If we've got time, I'll talk about how we use decision trees. Gamification. This is something that in my mind is one of the biggest things that one would like to use, especially in the industry. A millennial or a centennial wants to get his fingers on one of those gaming consoles, right? So we try and see if we can replicate it in the classroom, right? There's a game, 10 people are sitting in a classroom, who's going to come first? And we tie it to different things, and there are some great gamification apps and stuff like that that are in the market. We do that on the floor, because at the end of the day, one thing I've realized in my experience in life is I've never come across one person that wants to lose or fail. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be ahead of the curve. And that's why gamification is something that helps. And then, of course, we've got scenario-based learning. Now, how embedding digital performance in terms of driving operations. So I spoke about the training aspect, and now we do a lot of this even when it comes to operations. Gone are the days when somebody would send an email out to do with one scores and stuff like that. Gone are those days. Today you've got apps, you've got tools. The guy can log in and look at the numbers, not just for himself, but all across the globe, and stack himself where he stands, right? So I think KPI management is something that's obviously gotten better. Gamification, I spoke about it. Rewards and recognition, something that we've been experimenting and trying. Like the way you've got a rewards program where someone can stack up points, right? So you score X amount in your day-to-day KPIs, you stack up X number of points. We've got a library, you can go and pick up whatever goodie you want. And then the guy's competing with people around the globe. So stuff like that. Again, all I'm trying to say is there are better ways for us to do it once we're able to use some of these avenues that are available to us. Interaction coach is the other one, and we've heard a lot about interaction coach from the perspective that someone gets a prompting. You're talking to a customer. There's so much of analytics. There's so much of data in terms of what that customer, what's the kind of expectancy of the customer. What is it that the customer enjoys? And you get prompts. How does this help? The only way it helps is it gives you a more informed pitch. And again, it goes back to what I was saying a little earlier. What I was saying a little earlier is today, the expectation of an agent is a lot higher than what it was in the past. So for him to be successful, you've got to give him these prompts. And a classic example is, we've got some complex businesses, especially when you look at travel and stuff like that. When you've got someone working in travel and you've got to work on the back end with some of the complex tools, if you don't get these prompts, the learning curve for an agent becomes very, very long, right? So typically a learning curve for an agent would take about 6 months, maybe 7 or 8 months for him to get the hang of it. Now this brings the learning curve down to about 45 days, 30 days, 45 days, which gives you an edge. So even if you have to ramp up, even if you have to bring in some extra resources, you're not going to be constrained. So these are things that help us when it comes to those elements. So what is digital first? The experience, the innovation, the impact that we're talking about. What are the results that we've seen with some of these aspects that we've used? One is 50% in customer contacts. We've seen lower attrition, 30% lower attrition, 15% drop in AHT, more efficiency, as well as higher customer satisfaction scores and improved sales. And all of this you probably know, all of this you probably have heard of, and all of this is more the theory aspects and some of the more boring aspects. This is the methodology we use in terms of what we want to do to drive performance. And typically when we go to customers, we tell them, hey, you give me 12 to 18 months. And 12 to 18 months is a long time, but I will start telling you when I'll start hitting the numbers, when I'll start and customers want to know when is it that when they're going to see return on investment. So all of these things but I want to spend time on some of the more interesting things, and I'll just kind of jump up a little bit, and we'll come back if we need to. Some of the case studies that we've seen where they've used some of this intelligence. KLM, it invests in what's commonly known as BB, which is short form for Blue Bot. What does it do? It does function, booking confirmation updates, etc. The Blue Bot records 1.7 million messages covering 500,000 passengers a year. Now look at the amount of information they have. So what happens is they can make informed decisions in terms of what customer wants. They get to plan what kind of routes they can operate. They get to plan what kind of food choices people want. So obviously data is king. Netflix, all of us are aware of Netflix. They build algorithms. Obviously you turn on Netflix. If you've seen something, there's something that shows up that you may like, and it tells you, hey, this is something you might like. And you look at it. Netflix is adding 12,000 subscribers in the US each day. 56,000 subscribers per day around the world. That doesn't happen just like that. It happens because they've got the intelligence to back them up. And then, of course, I've also got Starbucks. It's using the loyalty card program and the mobile app to collect and analyze customer data. The predictive analysis they use gives perspective in terms of what snack or what beverage a particular person would like. As a matter of fact, it sends them prompts. At 11 o'clock in the morning, it'll send them a coupon or send them some sort of a marketing message saying that, hey, you know what, in this particular location, they're serving ABC, whatever it is. How does that happen? And we all know that when you look at the picture, you tend to feel hungry whether you like it or not. And these things do happen. It does help. It does make a difference. And the beautiful case study that we've seen, and some of you already know about it, is with respect to Target. And I think Target hired this guy called Paul in 2002, a gentleman called Paul, last name Paul, in 2002, to revamp their digital strategy. And they were just focusing on one area, which was, mothers and babies, right? And there were multiple, messages that was going to a particular individual in terms of, buying baby clothes and cribs. So one day, the father of the girl is really upset about it, goes to Target at the headquarters, I think the headquarters in Minneapolis, goes to Target headquarters and calls out the manager and says, why are you guys sending this kind of stuff to my daughter? I mean, are you trying to influence her to get pregnant? She's still in high school. I mean, what does it even mean? And he was really upset. So the manager was obviously clueless. He said, let me take a look. He asked for his phone, took a look at the phone. Obviously, they were sending in all that kind of material. So, even the manager was puzzled. He said, we'll try and see what we can do. We'll try and see what we can do to sort this out. The gentleman goes. A couple of days later, the manager calls to find out, hey, is everything okay? I mean, we really want to apologize. We are sorry about the negative experience. And the guy on the other side, the father, he says, you know what? There's been some miscommunication in my house. I'm sorry, my daughter's actually pregnant. So the point is, and this guy gives us a very interesting understanding. So what they did is, they looked at 15 things that a mother would look at when she's pregnant, right? They looked at 15 products. They looked at different stages in terms of when those products, for example, multivitamins, for example, cribs and clothes and stuff like that. They looked at all of those aspects. They built an algorithm, and then they would start shooting out, coupons and messages and stuff like that. What happened in the interim is their sales from 2002 to 2008, just in this one sector, grew from 47 billion to 66 billion because of the influence they were able to create, right? Now it's a different thing that obviously people got a little psyched about it. These guys are looking behind my back. They're snooping, they're snooping around and stuff like that. So what do? They changed their strategy. So now what they do is, when they're sending you a picture of a baby's crib, they'll also send you a wine bottle, which will kind of throw you off. So the person thinks, okay, everybody's getting the same thing, and they still end up buying what they need, right? So that's the shift in strategy that they adopted. Point is, and the gentleman here said, there's 320 change, million terabyte of data available, right? Which is not being necessarily used. If my understanding is correct, and Microsoft as well as Google, right, are using only 8 to 10% of the bots in their bot farm. Because there's so much available, we're not able to use it. And that's where the journey is going to take itself when it comes to AI and stuff like that. Automation is not going to reduce jobs. But instead what it's going to do is, it's going to propel you to the next layer. You're going to go to a level where you're going to be doing more complex work. And there's so much available. There are two situations, right? And this is my last point. There are two situations. One is, there's so much of data that needs to be broken down, and you can get so much out of it, right? Number two, the second problem is, globally, you're seeing a declining population. So what does it mean? There isn't too many people to handle the jobs that's available. The reason why we see a lot of goodness and benefit in India is because of the ability to scale. We've got a market that we can do mass. The only other market that can do mass is China, and China is not as open as we are. And that's one of the key reasons why we see the benefit that we see. That's the future. That's where we're advancing towards. And that's the goodness we will see with AI. Because once we can pull the data together, believe me, there's a truckload of goodness we can see. If Target, one segment, can move from 44 billion to 67 billion, imagine the potential that awaits. And that's what we want to get to when we look at artificial intelligence. Thank you. Thank you very much.